On Valentine's Day of our third year together, my boyfriend Julian was on a business trip out of town and couldn't make it back. He promised he would definitely return the next day. That same day I accidentally saw a photo posted by Hazel, the scholarship student I had sponsored, showing her hand on an 4-drip in a hospital bed with a man's hand resting on her arm. The caption read, "So grateful you're here for me." Just as I was about to scroll past, I noticed the identical bracelet on the man's wrist and the familiar cut of his sleeve. I suddenly understood that Julian's "I can't make it back" was probably set to visible only to me. I had no idea whether Hazel had simply forgotten to block me or had deliberately let me see it. "Congratulations. Wishing you two forever." I dropped the comment, then flopped back and went to sleep. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Julian came back from his business trip 3 days after Valentine's. I felt nothing, no disappointment, because I no longer loved him. He called and texted, I left every message on read. That evening he stood outside my door with a huge bouquet of long stem roses. "Stella, I'm sorry. Don't be mad, I rushed here the second work finished. These are to make up for Valentine's. Happy Valentine's Day." I said nothing and didn't take the flowers. "Don't be angry. I just missed one Valentine's Day because I was working. It's all for our future. They say if you love the right person, every day can be Valentine's, so don't be so petty." I looked at him coolly. "Are you done with work, or done with Hazel?" He froze for a second, then pulled me inside and started explaining. "Haze, she was sick, really sick, and she has no family here, so I looked after her. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd overthink. Is she better now? Should I move her into your bed so you can nurse her more conveniently?" I asked, sweetly acidic. "I knew you'd twist it, that's why I kept quiet. You always said Hazel was like a little sister to you. I feel the same, we're family. Could I ignore her when she's ill?" His rationalizations were endless. "So you're performing charitable acts now? Want me to call the press? This year's humanitarian award is yours." "Stella, enough. You're the one who sponsored Hazel. If you start helping, you follow through, right? It's tough for her here alone. Grow up and stop throwing a tantrum just because I missed Valentine's." He was right about one thing, I had chosen to sponsor Hazel. I'd spotted her stellar grades and wanted to give her a chance to stay in school. Is she the only one who gets sick? Ever had a fever? That Valentine's I hit 38 degrees Celsius while you sat at someone else's bedside. How do you think that felt? I pointed at the cold meds and fever reducer on the table. Hazel had acute gastroenteritis, the pain was excruciating. After work I took her to the hospital, that's why I came back 2 days late. A fever just means you're a bit chilled, drink more hot water and you'll be fine. He still sounded justified. Yes, just a fever, easily cured with hot water, so here I was, standing healthy. "Hey, I queued 2 hours at Lincoln for the mango mousse cake you love." He set a boutique paper bag on the table and lifted out the dessert. Lincoln is the most coveted patisserie in town, the line snakes around the block. The cake was beautiful and tempting, but he had forgotten I'm allergic to mango. "Sorry, I'm allergic to mango." "How can you be? You've bought from Lincoln before." "I bought Lincoln because you like mango mousse. Have you ever seen me eat a single bite? I always order strawberry shortcake." I walked into my bedroom and shut the door. Moments later I heard the front door slam as he left. Chapter 2. Scrolling Instagram later, I saw a new post from Hazel, her hand holding a Lincoln mango mousse with the caption, "Happiness is when you crave man. Go cake and someone queues 2 hours for you." Only then did I realize that, in Julian's world, I was merely an optional bonus question. Over the years I had shrunk myself to fit him. He liked my hair in a bun, so a bun it was. He preferred sundresses, so jeans gathered dust. He disapproved of me chatting with men, so I censored every conversation. I left for work at 8, came straight home at 6, skipped every happy hour invitation. Only now did I understand, I had no friends left. The next morning my department manager called me into the office. "Little Sterling, about the overseas division rotation I mentioned, please reconsider." I'd completely forgotten I'd turned down a 2-year assignment at Eastbrook. Because of my track record, the company had held the slot open. At the time I'd refused without thinking, hopeless romantic that I was, terrified a long-distance relationship would doom Julian and me. "Manager, no need to think. I'll go." "Seriously? This isn't a joke, it's 2 full years. You're sure?" "Positive. 2, 5, 10 years, whatever it takes, and the sooner the better." "Alright, I'll file the paperwork today." That evening I booked a private dining room at Harborview to thank my colleagues for their patience and support. In the corridor I heard voices drifting through the cracked door of the next room. Heart, when do we get to drink the wedding toast for you and Hazel? Perfect match, you two, brilliant guy, beautiful girl. Come on, start with an interlocking arms toast. I peeked through the gap. Hazel, cheeks flushed, raised her glass and intertwined arms with Julian. Excuse me, coming through, private dining room service. A waiter pushed the door wide, and Julian spotted me turning away. I don't know why he didn't chase me immediately. Instead he texted, "Why are you at Harborview? You're not stalking me, are you?" I'd meant to ignore him, but that accusation lit a fuse. Too busy to stalk you. If you can dine here, so can my friends. Friends? Which friends, guys or girls? Julian ignored his own intertwining arms toast and worried I might be fraternizing with men. I don't see why I have to report anything to you. Enjoy your interlocking arms toast, may you two grow old together. We're done. After firing off that message, I powered down my phone and went back to dinner with my colleagues. Halfway through, one of them asked, "Stella, you're leaving the country to study for so long, won't your boyfriend mind?" I smiled. I don't have one. It was true. I'd always kept to myself at the company, polite but distant, so no one knew my relationship status. Even Julian had never mentioned me to his friends. I used to be naive enough to believe him when he said our relationship was private, no need to broadcast it. No one cared about ordinary people like us. Now he was showing up at friends' dinners with Hazel on his arm, proof of how much she'd come to mean to him. Don't tease us, Stella. A pretty, capable woman like you, how can you be single? The colleague pressed. Really, I'm not. And capable is generous, everything we do is a team effort. I couldn't manage alone. I've got the perfect guy, Tessa piped up. My uncle, super handsome. Tessa, how old is this uncle of yours? The oldest woman at the table asked. He's young, just a generation above me. I'll have him pick me up, you'll see. Tessa grinned. Chapter 3. After dinner, while we waited curbside, Julian's car glided to the curb. Stella, let me drive you home. I've had a drink, so I've got a chauffeur. He stepped out as he spoke. Hazel was in the back seat, no way I was getting in. No, thanks, I said. He grabbed my arm, trying to tug me toward the car. She said no. Are you deaf? Tessa planted herself between us. And I'm taking Stella home, no need for you. The words had barely left her mouth when a Rolls-Royce ghosted to the curb. Its rear door swung open and a long pair of legs unfolded. Tessa, the man called from beside the car. Uncle, you finally made it. Tessa waved, then turned to us. Everyone, this is my uncle, Chase. Handsome, right? Told you. She hadn't oversold him, he was striking. Come here. Tessa towed me over. Uncle, this is the girlfriend I picked for you, Stella. Stop your nonsense and get in. We're going home, Chase muttered, sneaking a glance at me. Shy, maybe? Hey, uncle, your love life is my mission. Stella, hop in, we'll drop you off. As Tessa shoved me into the car, Julian called after me. Stella, Julian, I don't feel well. Hazel's voice drifted from inside his car. He forgot me instantly and hurried back to her. Tessa slammed the door shut once I was in. Thanks for the ride. I live at Serenity, I said, copying Tessa and calling him uncle. Stella, my uncle's name is Chase. And Grandpa bugs him daily about finding a girlfriend. Now you're here, so you owe me cash, uncle. Tessa, keep babbling and I'll freeze your cards, Chase warned without taking his eyes off the road. She stuck her tongue out at him, then we all went quiet. Clearly she hadn't exaggerated, her uncle was awkward around women. They pulled up at my building. I stepped out and said, Tessa, I appreciate the thought, but I'm headed abroad soon. I'm not interested in a long-distance relationship, so boyfriend plans are on hold. Studying abroad was my excuse. Chase was gorgeous, but he felt out of my league, and I was turning her down gently. No worries, Stella. Grandpa's shipping uncle to the overseas division to open new markets, you two are bound for the same place. She beamed. I was speechless. I thanked them and went inside. That night I tossed and turned. On Instagram had posted a photo of him and Hazel doing an interlocking arms toast captioned, "Happiness is when you love her and she loves you back." Acquaintances had already swarmed the comment section. OMG, breaking news. New Heart couldn't be single. Congrats, Heart. Dude, you landed Hazel? Chapter 4. Next morning Julian showed up at my door with breakfast. Stella, I bought your favorites, eat while it's hot. He laid the boxes on my dining table. The sight of the food, coupled with last night's image of him toasting Hazel, turned my stomach. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. What's wrong? He asked when I came out. Take your breakfast and leave. The sight of you makes me sick. Let me explain. It was just for show, clients teasing, I couldn't refuse. The Instagram post was a dare from a bar game. I cut him off. Spare me. There's nothing between Hazel and me. She's like your sister, why won't you trust me? I even gave her a job at my company, starting Monday. If you hate the idea, I'll rescind it. He talked nonstop. I felt nothing. Do what you like, I said flatly. Fine, believe what you want. Who was that man last night? Why did you get in his car? His nerve was astounding. None of your business. I left for work. At the office, my manager informed me the company had submitted my study abroad paperwork. They needed passport photos urgently. I took the morning off and headed to Mercer. The street was deserted during work hours. At the far end I found Vintage, the old-school studio that still kept an antique view camera on display. Right next door stood Elysian, the city's top bridal shop. Once I'd fantasized about coming here with Julian to book a bridal shoot, the sparkling wedding gown in the window hadn't moved. I was standing outside the bridal boutique, looking in through the plate glass window, when I spotted a familiar silhouette. Julian, immaculate in a tailored tux, was checking his reflection when he suddenly turned. Hazel stood behind him in a wedding gown so beautiful it made her tasteful makeup look like artistry. He stared, transfixed. I smiled at the entrance of the studio, pivoted, and walked into the old-school Vintage shop next door. 15 minutes later I had the passport photos. I was beaming at the camera as if tomorrow were already brighter. Just before clock out my phone chimed. Julian, Stella, I booked us a bridal shoot at Elysian on Mercer, the one you love. Sessions locked for the 28th. I glanced at my calendar. If everything stayed on track, by the 28th I'd already be on another continent. He wasn't lying. Once, when we strolled Mercer, I'd lingered outside that same shop and sighed, if I ever get married, I want to take pictures right here. He'd shrugged. Photos are just props. I don't photograph well, and the money's better spent on something useful. What girl doesn't fantasize about the moment she steps into a wedding gown? Because of that offhand remark, I'd shelved the dream. Turns out he disliked photos only when I was in them. He'd never agreed to go public, let alone marry me. Now, out of nowhere, he wanted bridal portraits. How convenient, perhaps photographic proof that he and Hazel were nothing. I didn't reply, Julian was already a stranger. Whomever he married was irrelevant. Stella. Tessa popped up beside my desk. Isn't my uncle gorgeous? Told you he's perfect. Tessa, thank you, but I'm really not looking to date anyone. Don't decide yet. Distance won't matter, he's headed to Norwell too. I lowered my voice. Quick question. Your uncle has that billionaire aura and a car that costs more than my apartment. Why are you interning here instead of living on a trust fund yacht? I want my own paycheck, not strings. And sure, he's the heir to Sterling, but underneath the jawline he's just a regular guy, no pressure. She grinned. So? Need anything? Actually, yes. Could you expedite my work visa? I'd like to leave sooner rather than later. If it's impossible, forget I asked. That's it? Give me an afternoon. Tessa delivered. The visa that normally took 2 weeks appeared before sunset, plus a boarding pass for tomorrow. I Venmo'd her the fare, no way I'd let her bankroll my escape. I packed that night, slept like the dead, and woke to a fistful of missed calls and unread messages from Julian. I deleted them and blocked his number. Day 3, Eastbrook. The gate agent scanned my boarding pass. I stepped onto the jet bridge and found seat 4A. The man in 4B looked familiar. Chase. So that was Tessa's coup. Hi, he greeted, calm and unruffled. Hi. I smiled back. Thanks for the visa, and the seat. Once we land, lunch is on me. Small stuff. And please, just call me Chase. Okay, thanks, Chase. His profile was ridiculous, straight nose, carved jaw, lashes so long they looked curated. When he angled the hardcover toward the window light, a halo settled on his cheekbones, and something inside me did a clumsy pirouette. I turned to the porthole, suddenly shy, breathing as quietly as possible while the 787 catapulted into the clouds. We didn't talk much. He read, I dozed. When I woke, a cashmere blanket lay across me. Chase's eyes stayed on his book, but his ears were pink. I tugged the blanket higher and watched cotton candy cumulus drift by, imagining a life that no longer featured Julian, only new streets, new skies, and maybe the quiet man beside me. On the ground he had to dash to Norwell headquarters, so I promised rain-checked thanks. He hailed my ride to the Sterling and vanished into the bustle. I should have guessed Tessa's setup wasn't finished. At dawn I wandered into the hotel restaurant, and found Chase buttering toast 2 tables away. His suite, naturally, was next to mine. Over breakfast, he asked, sleep well? I flinched, knocked over my water. As I mopped futilely at the tablecloth, he closed gentle fingers around my wrist. It's only water. And just like that, the next chapter began. He pulled a tissue with the effortless ease of someone who had rehearsed the motion 1,000 times, the cool tips of his fingers grazing the back of my hand. I jerked my hand back and pretended to smooth my hair, but the heat in my earlobes could have fried an egg. That was when I realized Tessa's elaborate scheme was far more intricate than I'd imagined. Airport, hotel, the room next door, the coincidental breakfast encounter. Every gentle trap she had laid was nudging me, step by step, to lower my guard. Chapter 6. I finished breakfast in a hurry, said goodbye to Chase, and set off to report for duty at my new company. The firm was Norwell, the partner my old company had dreamed of landing for years. Norwell's standards were legendary, so headquarters had sent me to learn from the best. The moment I walked in, I noticed how many Chinese employees worked here. The place felt unexpectedly welcoming. The receptionist rang HR, and a few minutes later I was escorted up. Stella, welcome. I'm Lu Yan, head of HR. I'll get your onboarding started and then show you around. Thank you so much. With Lu Yan as my guide, I quickly absorbed the layout. Our last stop was the executive suite. Sterling, this is Chase, Norwell's global CEO. Lu Yan stepped aside, and my lungs froze. Behind the desk sat the same man who had draped a cashmere blanket over me last night and been splashed with ice water this morning, collar unbuttoned 2 notches, gold-rimmed spectacles low on his nose. He tapped a finger on the desktop, lifted his gaze from the page, and curved his lips. Sterling, we meet again. Seems fate runs even deeper than Tessa promised. Since you two already know each other, I'll leave you to chat, Lu Yan chirped, retreating and pulling the door shut. Silence crystallized. I stood rooted, mind blank, utterly unprepared to find Chase occupying the corner office. Tessa had mentioned he was the heir apparent at Sterling and would be expanding overseas. I had assumed he would be stationed at a Sterling subsidiary, certainly not heading a tech titan like Norwell. Amusement flickered in his eyes, he had foreseen my shock. I inhaled, forced calm, and extended my hand. Sterling, I'm Stella. Looking forward to learning from you. His fingers were cool, his palm warm, and his hand easily enveloped mine. No need to be so formal. He released me, leaned back, and laced his fingers. Surprised? A little. I didn't expect the CEO of Norwell to be you. What did you think I did? A smile tugged at his mouth. Tessa said you'd be opening Sterling's overseas markets. I assumed you'd be running a division there. Norwell is mine. I'll oversee Sterling's local subsidiary as well, no conflict. He said it as if discussing the weather. All right, you've seen the campus. Dive in. Our culture is friendly, but we don't keep passengers. Only then did the wild thought strike me. Had Tessa engineered even my study abroad assignment? I shoved the notion away. I was here, I would thrive. Norwell's staff welcomed me warmly. Chase assigned me a mentor, and I jumped in at once. The pace was blistering, the learning curve near vertical, but I clawed my way upward. Chapter 7. Just as I began to find my rhythm, Tessa called. Little auntie, how are you holding up? Tessa, don't call me that. There's nothing between your uncle and me. Please. Nobody withstands uncle's face for long. Fun fact, he has an 8-pack. Tessa. I have to work. Wait. Julian, your ex, showed up asking for you. I told him you'd resigned and sent him packing. I checked the calendar, it was already the first week of the month. Thanks. He's a stranger to me now. Good. I was afraid you still pined for that jerk. A player like Julian isn't worth a second thought. I'm focusing on my job. Besides, your uncle and I live in different universes. Stop matchmaking. Tessa snorted, called me stubborn, and vowed to fly over and chaperone us herself. I hung up laughing, yet her teasing stirred something inside. Outside the window the sky over Eastbrook was flawless, perhaps it was time to shelve the past. When tension began to eat at me, Chase announced a company retreat. We converged on Cape. Salt winds scoured away the week's fatigue. Colleagues sply tea into clusters, some spiking a volleyball, some nursing cold-pressed juice beneath umbrellas, others attempting surfboards beyond the breakers. Laughter braided with the crash of waves. I kicked off my sandals and let the sea nip my ankles. A volleyball cannoned toward me. Instinctively I reached, lost balance, and was about to hit the sand when a strong arm banded my waist. I looked up into Chase's deep gaze. He had traded his suit for a white tee and board shorts, sternness swapped for effortless ease. Easy. He let go, eyes dropping to my soaked cuffs. Wind's cold. Don't catch a chill. Heat flooded my cheeks. Thank you, Sterling. A shadow lunged between us. Stella. So this is why you vanished, to chase him? Julian. What are you doing here? I demanded. Afraid I'd ruin your gold-digging weekend? Julian spat. We're done, Julian. Go home. Done? I never agreed to a breakup. Without my say-so, it's invalid. He stepped closer, righteous and ridiculous under the noon read. You already took bridal portraits with Hazel, your choice is obvious. No, Stella, you've got it wrong. I did book the shoot, but it was for us. Hazel only went to try on the wedding gown so I could surprise you once everything was perfect. Julian swore earnestly. His words made me laugh. This is the first time I've heard of someone needing a stand-in for her own bridal shoot. Don't you think that's a joke? While I spoke, I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Hazel's Instagram photos. Am I also misunderstanding this? Did my misunderstanding get her pregnant? Did I unzip her pants? Julian obviously hadn't expected Hazel to post the positive pregnancy test. From his stunned reaction, she must have set the post to visible only to me. Stella, please listen. It really was a misunderstanding. When you suddenly disappeared, I was frantic. I drank too much, and she climbed into my bed while I was drunk. I thought she was you, that's why I made that mistake, he argued. Julian, if your acting were any worse, you'd be booed off the stage. Look at the date on this test, it doesn't match the timeline you just gave. Either you'd already been sleeping together, or the baby isn't yours and you're the fall guy. Stella, you can't be unreasonable. I was set up, by Hazel. Ultimately it's your fault. If you hadn't sponsored her, none of this would have happened. Give me another chance. We'll start over. I'll cut her off. His upside-down logic was so infuriating it was almost funny. Sponsoring Hazel was my mistake? His cheating is my responsibility? The twisted reasoning made my blood run cold and showed me, once and for all, how selfish and despicable he is. I drew a steadying breath. Julian, instead of spinning these full-of-holes excuses, why don't you go ask Hazel whose surprise that baby really is? We were finished the moment you chose to lie. There's no restart button. ####Chapter 8. His face turned ashen. He clearly hadn't expected me to be so merciless. Nearby colleagues had already been lured by the commotion and were watching with undisguised curiosity. Chase now stood half a step behind me. He said nothing, but the quiet menace rolling off him was enough to hush even the crashing waves. Intimidated, or perhaps humiliated by the gathering crowd, Julian took an awkward step back. Stella, wait for me. I'll settle things with Hazel and give you an explanation, he insisted. Julian, explanations are unnecessary, we're done. To be honest, we never truly began. Your refusal to go public with our relationship sealed our ending long ago. I turned and walked away with Chase. That afternoon, Chase, several coworkers, and I had a blast on the Cape. When the reed began to sink, we gathered on the sand for a beachside barbecue. The coals hissed and popped, basting the skewers with sizzling fat. Chase asked if I had any food dislikes, then wordlessly passed me the ones I could eat. The sea breeze lifted the hair across his forehead, and in he orange-pink afterglow, the profile of him tending the grill looked unexpectedly gentle. When someone coaxed him to sing, he merely smiled and waved it off, yet the instant a piece of chili made me cough, he quietly handed me an ice-cold bottle of cold-pressed juice without being asked. Our fingers brushed as I took it, the lingering warmth of his skin made my heart skip. When I raised my eyes, I met his gaze, no longer the aloof one he wore at the office, but softened by sunset, like the look he'd given me on the plane when he tucked the cashmere blanket around my shoulders. After the food was gone, people drifted away, footprints dissolved under each wave, just as the creases of my past seemed to ease under Chase's wordless care. Some days later, Tessa came to see me. She said Julian and Hazel's scandal had exploded across local media. Julian kept denying paternity and tried to pay her off, but Hazel marched the positive pregnancy test to his parents. Under their pressure, he married her. Yet their life together was anything but calm. Hazel, emboldened by pregnancy, grew increasingly temperamental, picking fights over trifles and criticizing her in-laws. Julian, resentful from the start, ran out of patience, stayed out nights, and let the marriage freeze over. During one ugly quarrel, hands were raised, Hazel lost the baby in the turmoil, and Julian's contempt deepened. A union built on deceit and calculation was doomed to mutual destruction. As for me, under Tessa's cheerful supervision, I began dating Chase. At first it felt like walking on thin ice, He was the all-powerful CEO and I was just an intern from an overseas division. But Chase melted every reservation with action. During my late-night shifts, his office light stayed on until I left. His memos on my proposals were exact yet encouraging. He even remembered I drink my black coffee without sugar. Once, while I was scrambling to finish a campaign deck, I fell asleep at my desk. When I woke at dawn, his tie Lord Tuck's jacket lay over me, carrying the faintest cedar scent. He sat on the adjacent couch reading documents, morning light striping his face through the blinds. In that instant, I understood, before genuine feeling, pedigree is just fragile tissue paper. Tessa also let me in on a secret. Chase had noticed me long ago. The first time was at a charity gala where I volunteered. He was there as Norwell's representative on stage. I was in the audience helping mobility-impaired children find seats, handing out gift bags, and quieting a sobbing boy with candy I happened to have in my pocket. Sunlight streaming through the auditorium glass gilded my profile, and he thought, that girl is extraordinary. Later, he learned I had a boyfriend and chose not to intrude. He simply waited. Tessa's arrival at our company was no accident, it was his gentle orchestration. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, hit like and share it with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.